Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment. Here to talk about the Seattle Seahawks defeating the Dallas Cowboys. The end of the season is now here for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start by talking about the Dallas Cowboys, as there are plenty of you Dallas Cowboy fans out there. And definitely a disappointing season for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, before the season, I believe I had the Cowboys going 10-6. I think it was 10-6. And then after the Ezekiel Elliott suspension, I said 9-7, if I remember correctly. So I'm not surprised. And you guys could easily win next week and end up being 9-7. But it was a missed playoff for the Dallas Cowboys, and this is unfortunate indeed, as a lot of Cowboy fans were expecting after last year's great season to return to the playoffs to even be Super Bowl contenders. But things in the NFL do not go that easily, and that should be a message to the Philadelphia Eagles fans out there, the LA Rams fans out there, etc. But we'll talk about that in another day. For this game, this is a very interesting game because not only are the Cowboys eliminated from the playoff contention, but now we have to make decisions about these guys, mainly the coaching staff for the Dallas Cowboys moving forward, because we're obviously committed to Dak Prescott. We're obviously committed to Ezekiel Elliott. What will we do with this coaching staff? And this is a very interesting situation here. Personally, I don't care what the Cowboys do. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I think they could go either way. They could either keep Garrett and company or get rid of all of them. Okay, to me, you have to do one or the other. I mean, if Garrett wants to stay, he wants to change his staff up a bit, that's fine. But ultimately, the decision is keeping or letting go of Jason Garrett. If you let go of Garrett, everyone's got to go. You got to get rid of Rod Marinelli, the offensive staff, Scott Linehan, unless you want to promote one of them, which I don't think you'd want to do. But I look at Linehan a bit, actually, because I think that could be something. But we'll talk about that whenever a move actually happens there. So whether you're going to keep Garrett or let him go, to me, personally, Cowboy fans, you probably won't want to hear this. I'd probably keep him, but it just depends. If I could have some backdoor conversations, some behind-the-scenes conversations with these 5 men, and one of them I could get to have a lot of interest, then perhaps I'd fire Garrett, right? I don't want to fire Garrett unless if I already have something lined up, because I don't want to go out and hire some random guy that's never been a head coach before, like a Terrell Austin, and hope to God that he comes in here and does a great job. But there are 5 men that I'm looking at big time for this Dallas Cowboys football team. Number 1 is Josh McDaniels. I think he should be number 1 on everyone's list. Yes, he had a horrible stint as a head coach for the Denver Broncos during his time there. I think he's going to improve. I think it's great that he was that awful, because now he's going to be able to see, okay, I made these mistakes, let me improve, and you can see his offense freaking works, dog. And he had the Broncos headed in the right direction early in his stint. The Broncos started 5-0 or 6-0 that year, his first year, and then they went down after that. But you can see his potential, right? I can see this guy really improving upon his second stint. 2 names out of college in Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw. Now, I know Harbaugh's committed to Michigan, but if the Dallas Cowboys come calling with Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, even Jim Harbaugh has to answer that call. David Shaw out of Stanford. This guy's been one of the top college coaches for years. I think he's just waiting for the perfect opportunity. This could be it. And I would also look at John Gruden. That one is a stretch, but I think, again, if you're calling with Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, even John Gruden has to answer that call. And Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. And I'm also looking at Jim Schwartz. I wouldn't love Jim Schwartz. I don't think it'd be much better than what you currently have, but those are my 5. Add Jim Schwartz, 6 names that I'm looking at. Other than that, I would rather just stick with Jason Garrett, okay? And I know you can't really play that game. It's hard to play that game, but look, this is the NFL. This is business. Things happen behind the scenes all the time. Have some behind the scenes conversations. You're the Dallas Cowboys or Jerry Jones. Call some people with all the money that you got and have some under the floor, behind the rug conversations, or under the rug, behind the scene conversations, and see what you can do. Because I think if you fire Jason Garrett, you don't get one of those 6 guys and you end up hiring a Paul Gunther, a Terrell Austin, a John DeFilippo, random guy that's going to come in here. You promote Scott Linehan. We don't know what we're getting. You could easily hire a Dirk Cutter or a Ben McAdoo, and you don't want to go down that that road. But beyond the coaching stuff, let's talk about this game for a bit, okay? I always get a little distracted. So for this game, look, Ezekiel Elliott was back, and you saw the impact that he had on the football field. This guy's good. And he didn't have a huge run today. His longest run was 9 yards, but still, he averaged 4 yards a carry. He had 24 carries for 97 yards. If you have this type of consistent production, you're pretty good, right? For you to consistently be moving the chains. Now, I heard Shango, if you know who that is, the YouTube channel, the Dallas Cowboys show, huge Dallas Cowboy fan, and a lot of Cowboy fans were saying this as well, that the Cowboys should have ran the football more. I mean, what do you want? They ran it 30 times. They ran it 4 times with Dak, or, Dak scrambled and ran it himself 4 times. They ran it 24 times with Ezekiel Elliott, and they threw it 34 times with Dak Prescott, but they threw it a lot in the fourth quarter, that final drive when the game was over. I think before that point, they had run it more than they had passed it. In fact, I know that to be true because I was looking at the stat line while this game was going on. They ran it more than they passed it in this game. They did for the majority of the game until the very end of the game when the game was over. I don't think that was the problem. I think right now the passing scheme and the overall passing concepts and just the flow of the passing game just isn't really working right now. And I have to point out and I have to call out Dez Bryant. I mean, I don't know what Dez Bryant is doing right now in this league. Now, I still think he has some things left in the tank. He's not that old. He was drafted in, 2010? How old is he? 29, 30 years old? I don't want to hear that he's done, that he's old, that he's finished. That's just nonsense. But clearly, mentally, Dez Bryant just doesn't have it. And he never really got great separation as a wide receiver. He would only get good separation. He is no longer getting that, and that is concerning. But moreover than that, man, you can just see the mental lapses with this guy this year. It's been ridiculous. The drops this year have been awful for Dez Bryant, and he had the fumble today. Oh my goodness. The fumble today was ridiculous. It allowed the Seahawks to go down the field from midfield all the way to the end zone and scoring the go-ahead touchdown that the Cowboys would not really recover from. They would recover a bit, but not enough to win the football game, right? You have to look at that play and say if that play doesn't happen, perhaps this game goes down a different road. Horrible game from Dez Bryant, okay? From the fumble to the drop pass that led to the interception of KJ Wright of the Seattle Seahawks, Dez Bryant had an awful game, and I'm circling him and I'm saying, okay, he's a problem. Now, he's still under contract for next year, and I think he's scheduled for 12 or 13 million. I'm not sure if you want to keep him. To me, you can. Okay, now right now I'm not sure about your salary cap situation. It should be fine because you have a really cheap quarterback. And you actually have a pretty cheap running back as well, right? Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott are still on the rookie deal. Now you have a very expensive offensive line that you're still working on right now, because right now we have some issues in terms of the right tackle position and the guard positions as well. But for right now, it looks, pretty much set. So we're going to see how much salary cap you guys have, because you may have to go out and make some additions to your wide receiver core, and you may have to get rid of Dez Bryant to help you make some additions to your wide receiver core, because this is a problem. Dez Bryant should not be your number one wide receiver anymore. Heading into next year, if he's your number one, I'm concerned. I don't think that he's the worst number one wide receiver in the league. I think they're definitely worse than him. Look at the Chicago Bears. Who is their number one wide receiver? I can't tell you. I just, is it Kendall Wright? Okay, sure. Kendall Wright, okay? Of course he's better than that guy. But if he's your number one right now, Dez Bryant, I'm not confident in him. You got to pair him with someone that's of equal or better value. If you pair him with Calvin Ridley coming out of this upcoming draft, now you have something going. Dez Bryant would be better than Ridley, initially, but then eventually Ridley could take the mantle as the Cowboys' number one wide receiver. To me, you need to complement Dez Bryant with someone that's at least going to soon have equal or more value. Because if you keep having Dez Bryant as your true number one, you're gonna have problems. He's just not as consistent as he used to be. He always used to be a mental case, and now you're combining that with drops and fumbles. This is a big problem. And outside of him, right, the wide receivers, they're just not great. Terrence Williams, he's a bit of a one-trick pony. I mean, he can run the occasional corner route, the occasional goal route. He's not a complete wide receiver. He doesn't get open on a consistent basis. He doesn't run good routes on a consistent basis. He's not great. Cole Beasley had a great year last year. He's not great. He's back to what he used to be, and that's a wide receiver that's just not that impactful. He can get separation from time to time. He can run a hell of an in and out. He can run a hell of a crossing route, but he's just not that dynamic, right? We need some more weapons for this Dallas Cowboys offense, and Jason Witten, we love him. He's a tight end that we've had for years in Dallas, but man, all he runs is curl routes, and he's huge, so he still probably ends up with the football, but that's pretty much all he does, right? Because he's so huge, he's able to come down with these balls, but he doesn't get much separation. He may get some yards after the catch because some cornerbacks and linebackers fall trying to tackle him because he's so damn huge, but outside of that, he doesn't look that dynamic anymore. Let's upgrade the tight end position. I know you guys like Rico Gathers out of Baylor. Oh, we drafted this guy, he's a nice project, but to me, let's add someone to this tight end core. You can have Rico Gathers, you can have Jason Witten. Let's add someone else because I think someone else could be added to this unit. Outside of that, the defense today for the Cowboys was, fine. It wasn't bad. In fact, I would maybe even say it was pretty good. But the problem was offensively just way too many issues. And the Dak Prescott, I forgot to mention this, the Dak Prescott pick six was bad. Okay, Dak Prescott pick six was bad. And his performance today was not great. I loved the play in which he was rolling out to his left. He threw an absolute dart to Dez Bryant. This was a great play. Great play by Dez. Great play by Dak Prescott. Outside of that, he wasn't that great, but look, this is still a quarterback that I look at and I say, okay, this guy's a franchise quarterback. The problem is we keep looking at these guys and we keep expecting them to be great so early in their careers. It's just ridiculous. We need to stop this junk. Can we please stop this junk while we expect so much from these young quarterbacks? Look, think of the top 5-10 quarterbacks in the NFL, right? You think of names like Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger. These guys have been in the league for 5-10 plus years, right? Matthew Stafford, has taken a while for him to cement himself as a top 10 quarterback, and even he will go in and out of being a top 10 quarterback. Russell Wilson is a guy that is young and consistently a top 10 quarterback, and even then, his 2013 season was not great. He threw like 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, not 2014 actually, I think. Like 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He was on a top 10 quarterback that year, right? So you gotta just be patient. Some years are gonna have top 10 years, some years they won't. Watch next year. Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, they're gonna be out of the top 10 discussion again. I don't know why, but I'll tell you why. Because they're young, and it takes these young quarterbacks time to really level out and be consistent year to year to year, and they still may not be consistent because Matt Ryan will have great years, he'll have down years, but he's a franchise quarterback. Matthew Stafford, same freaking thing. Ben Roethlisberger, same thing. This is what a quarterback looks like, folks. You can see though, even with his worst play like today, he could still make plays. He's not awful, he's not dreadful. There's a significant distance between a guy like Dak Prescott and a guy like Deshaun Kaiser right now. There's a distinct, significant, and sizable difference there. All right, so we move on to the Seattle Seahawks, okay? And for the Seahawks, you have to like this win today. Now, unfortunately for you, you do not control your own destiny. You need the Falcons to lose next week against the Carolina Panthers, and that game is in Atlanta. So I do not like your chances there, nor should you. However, today, Russell Wilson, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, only 93 yards passing, and he threw the ball 21 times. Now, this was a fascinating game for the Seahawks overall, I would say. It didn't feel like they had many possessions. This game went really quick. Sometimes you have games that go really quick. There's a lot of running, and there really was a lot of running today. There were 30 rushes by the Seahawks, 30 rushes by the Cowboys. That makes the game go by quicker because there's not many stoppages in play. So that also played a factor today. So I don't want to make too many offensive conclusions. Russ Wilson's an absolute beast. Now, I know people want to vote him for the MVP. I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. The Seahawks are currently 9-6. They may miss the damn playoffs. Even if they make the playoffs at 10-6, he's not the MVP. You can't go 10-6 as a quarterback and win the MVP. I can't buy that. That's ridiculous to me. Unless if he threw 40 touchdowns, and he's not going to. He's at 32 right now. Is great, okay? He's leading the team in passing and rushing, which is fantastic. He's not the MVP. I'd rather vote for Tom Brady, who's going to throw for a little less touchdowns, have way more wins, and overall is more of an MVP candidate to me. But that's just to me. But, the Seahawks can't find a consistent run game right now outside of Russell Wilson. Mike Davis, they ran it with him today. He was ineffective. They ran it with Thomas Rawls today. He's back. And look, I like Rawls actually. Whenever I see him play, I see some burst from this guy, but he just can't stay healthy. We can never trust this guy to stay healthy like CJ Procise. That's a consistent problem for this football team. Paul Richardson, he continues to draw passes. That's been a problem for him all year. Doug Baldwin, what a touchdown that he had. Oh my goodness. It's been such a pleasure to watch the development of Doug Baldwin in the NFL. This guy has improved tremendously. I remember back, I used to bash this guy even a bit back in 2011, 2012, but he has made significant improvements. His route running is fantastic. Despite his 5'10 frame, he's able to consistently make plays, consistently get significant separation from cornerbacks. This guy's fantastic. He's great. I love Doug Baldwin as a football player. Jimmy Graham, this guy's disappointing me. Again, he's one of the league leaders in drops. He's been completely ineffective for the past 2 weeks, and I know because I started him in fantasy last week. An absolute disaster for me last week. So I don't know what's going on with Jimmy Graham. And now we're looking back and we're saying, okay, maybe we should have kept Max Unger. And it's not making a huge difference because Justin Britt has been good at that center position, but maybe it'd be better to have Max Unger still at that center position and Justin Britt at the right tackle position. Maybe that would have been a better thing for us right now. But whatever, we're not going to harp on that too much. Great interception by KJ Wright. Great play by him. Horrible play by Des Bryant. You saw Earl Thomas running around. Bobby Wagner doing his thing. Byron Maxwell, he's struggling a bit, but he made the huge forced fumble, right? That was him. I'm pretty sure, right? That was him that forced a fumble there. So you had to love that. Outside of that, you know, Michael Bennett was doing his thing. Sheldon Richardson, the defensive line, they're not complete yet. I mean, they're good, but they're a little inconsistent. We saw that last week, man. Todd Gurley ran all over them, but you can see the potential for the Seahawks. It's just a little too late at this point. So next week, the Seahawks go up against the Arizona Cardinals. They host the Cardinals in Seattle. This is a game that they should win. They have to win, right? They have to win, and they have to hope that the Falcons lose to the Panthers in Atlanta. What's going to happen there? Now, I'll tell you right now, I don't know who I'm picking. I don't know. The Panthers, are they incentivized to win that game? Yes, because if they win that game, the Saints lose. The Panthers are the, what is it going to be, the 4th seed. They will host the Saints. If they lose or the Saints win, then it doesn't matter. The Saints are going to be the 4th seed and the Panthers will be the 5th seed. So they are incentivized. The Panthers will care in their matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, but it's in Atlanta. That makes things tricky. But the Panthers are a better team. They're a better team. But again, it's in Atlanta. So that's concerning for me. If you had to beg me for a pick right now, I pick Carolina, but if I go deeper into my statistics and everything and my research over this upcoming week, that prediction may change, and that may screw you over, because if the Falcons win this week, you're out of luck. The Seahawks miss the playoffs, and it sucks for you. But if you guys get in, can you do something? You would go up against LA, most likely, right? You traveled to LA where you won this year. Now, that was a different Seahawks team, as we figured out last week, okay, as you guys got killed by the LA Rams. But I give you guys a shot. I wouldn't pick you, but I give you guys a shot. And then after that, you travel to the number 1 seed, the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you were good enough to beat the Rams in round 1, I think you'd be good enough to beat the Nick Foles-led Philadelphia Eagles. So I still think there's a conversation there for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't have them going nearly as far as I did before the season, because remember, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, not to win, but to go to the Super Bowl, and I'm not as confident as I was then, but the conversation is still going, and we'll see how it ends. Once again, for the Dallas Cowboys, the conversation as it pertains to the head coaching position has now begun. Jason Garrett, personally, again, I think you have to have behind the scenes, under the rug conversations with those guys that I mentioned earlier. Josh McDaniels, Jim Harbaugh, David Shaw, Matt Patricia, Jim Schwartz, and someone that I can't remember. Okay, John Gruden. Okay, that's how it's ridiculous. I can't even remember it. Have behind the scene conversation with those guys. If they don't want to coach you, just stick with Garrett. I'd rather stick with Garrett than go out and find Paul Gunther or something ridiculous. Look, Jason Garrett has had 1 losing season with the Cowboys out of like 6 or 7 years, man. That's pretty good. I know it's been 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, and that's concerning. And this could be another 8-8. But I'd have to give him 1 more year before he go down the road of hiring some random no-name offensive or defensive coordinator that's never coached anything. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys versus Seattle Seahawks. For your thoughts, comment down below. I want to know. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, to subscribe. And until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment. I'm out. See you all later.